listening to the Rainmaking Podcast, hosted by high-stakes headhunter, author, and professional speaker, Scott Love.
Hey, this is Scott Love. Thanks for joining me on the Rainmaking Podcast. Imagine that you're giving a presentation to a group of prospective clients, and you've got to sell your services, and you've got a pitch deck that you're using that tells a story as to why they should choose you. What information do you put in that pitch deck? How do you tell a story that's going to get them to see the value of your services and have them choose you over your competition? Well, those are questions that we're going to answer today in our interview with Donna Griffit. Now, Donna is a subject matter expert just on this topic. She's worked globally for over 17 years with Fortune 500 companies, startups, and investors in a wide variety of industries, helping them to create and deliver presentations, pitches, and messages. She knows how to spin raw data to drive results. She's also the author of her new book, Sticking to My Story. Make sure you check that link out on the show notes and also connect with her on the show notes as well. This is going to be something that's going to help you. If you have to sell work and prospective work to prospective clients, this is going to be a conversation that you don't want to miss. As always, this show is sponsored by Leopard Solutions, Legal Intelligence, Suite of Products, Firmscape, and Leopard BI. Push ahead of the pack with the power of Leopard. I hope you get some great ideas from my conversation with Donna Griffit today. Thanks for listening. Hey, this is Scott Love. Thanks for joining me on the Rainmaking Podcast. Our guest today is author Donna Griffit, and our topic is what needs to be in a pitch deck. Donna, thanks for joining me on the show today.
So great to be here, Scott. Thank you for having me.
You bet. And congratulations on your book. And we're going to talk about that as well. So tell me, let's start with some working definitions here. When I hear the words pitch deck, to me, that's raising funding. But I know that other companies and other professional services firms might use that as a sales deck when they're selling work, when they're pitching work. So tell me, what does that mean exactly when you talk about a pitch deck? What's that definition?
Well, think about the word pitch for a second. If you were to randomly walk down the street in your town and stop someone and say, "Excuse me, can you tell me what a pitch is?" They kind of look at you funny and probably think it's baseball season, right?
Right.
But if we think about the baseball pitch and the throwing of the ball, and the audience kind of at this, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what happens. Then everybody's reaching for it. There's action, there's interaction, there's passion, there's something happening there.
Right.
And that's the way I want people to feel when you pitch them, whether it's a potential client, a potential investor, a potential partner. I want them excited to catch your story as you throw it out to them. So a pitch is very intentional. It's very action-oriented, and it's something that you want to get people wanting more.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, when I think about this, I just envision that all it is just tombstones of these are our existing clients. And those are the things that I've heard people, they've shared with me before. And it's just not very exciting. What you sound like sounds interesting to me.
Yes. And that's exactly, you need to establish your credibility.
Yeah.
But what's going to be more interesting, Scott, for you to hear, "Hi, we're company X, and we've been working with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. We have offices in 3 countries and we have over 200 employees." Like, who cares?
Yeah,
I'm not here to listen to that. What they care about is when you start off saying, "So here's one of the biggest issues we've encountered. A client of ours, similar to you guys, but different, has been struggling doing this." And, you tell the story, or you tell your story, or you tell the story of something happening in the news. And you tell a story that resonates with them because you've identified their pain ahead of time. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. Got that. So what happened?" Then it's like one of those, like, okay, it's like the beginning of a action adventure film. There's an explosion. There's a kidnapping.
Yep.
There's something happens. And then you're okay, what happens next? So that's the philosophy and the psychology of storytelling. And that's what I talk about in the book. This has been tens of thousands of years in the making.
Yeah. So what are the elements then of this story that people should put in their pitch deck? If we kind of broke it down, what would be beginning, middle, and end? Is there a protagonist?
It's actually
and an
4
antagonist?
chunks.
Okay, so tell me about
middle and
this.
end, but there's a few middle pieces. So there's actually 2 beginning pieces. So our natural instinct when we're in love with our product and our service and our technology and our solution, which we should be, whether it's our own as entrepreneurs or working for a company that we really believe in and really are committed to, and also will be making commissions off sales, which is, important as well. The natural instinct is, oh my gosh, I only have a few minutes to grab their attention. Let me talk about me as much as possible, about my product as much, and how great it is.
What's not to like? Surely they're going to be interested. What's not to like?
Right? My mom loves it. But that's the number one mistake. And we all make it.
Right.
At one point or another, whether we intend to or not, because we think, okay, so limited time span, everybody is a hungry toddler. Everybody wants to be fed.
Yeah, everybody.
So we have to find a way to engage them. That does the absolute opposite. It's like, seriously, you're here to talk about you. I want to talk about me. So if we flip the script, we turn it around and we look at it from their perspective. What is the gap in their life? Whether it's directly someone who's going to be buying from you or a VC that will be investing in you, who, you'll be catering to a specific audience.
Right.
You need to figure out that pain and turn it into a story. Now, you asked about breaking it down. Let me break it down a little bit. So I called it a 4-act play. And in the book, we go through the 4 acts of it. I'm a Broadway baby since I was, little I just took my girls this week to see The Sound of Music. And theatrical and dramatic writing is exactly the model of storytelling. If you look at Greek tragedies, you look at Shakespeare, you look at these things, it's built in acts. Act 1, just like in a movie.
Right.
Something bad. Something's rotten in the kingdom of Denmark. Something is happening. Something evil comes our way. And then Act 2 is about the hero that will emerge to solve it, your solution, your technology, your product. And then you kind of take us through an overview of it, show us the user journey, show how it's helped other people. Because the minute we see it, like yesterday, I got so mad at a client of mine. I get mad, I scold them like, not really. This is the second round of their founding we're working on. And they said, something's not working in this deck. We really want to come back and spend an hour with you. I said, absolutely. And I gave them some guidelines and they come back. And the slide for their product was like 5 squares of describing it. I'm like, you've been working for over a year with enterprise companies, taking them on these amazing journeys. And that's what you're going to show them. No wonder you're not getting their attention. You want to showcase the beauty and the simplicity through the user story. So we took one of their clients, we deconstructed the story. We talked about their struggle beforehand.
Okay.
And then how they used it and the results they got. And suddenly it pops to life.
Yeah. So the arc, right?
The arc. So the arc moving from their pain and their miserable existence before working with you through, this is something that many companies struggle with, and it's costing the industry millions, billions, and everybody knows it's a problem. Everybody's throwing money at it. Now, what are we going to do? This is our product. This is how we used it for others. This is why they love us. And then Act 3 is the numbers, the backup, the business model, the market analysis, the competitive landscape, depending who you're talking to and what needs to be in there. It's a bit different for a sales deck or for an investor deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, Act 4. And this is something that people often miss. They'll go straight to the ask. Whatever it's, buy my product, invest in me, whatever. No, this is the visionary moment. This is the what's next.
So tell me, I want to know. I'm like excited about
No, this is it. This is the next. Like, how far can we go with this? What's the vision? What's your big vision? Right now we're doing A, but guess what? We can take A and bring it to other industries. We could take A and create other products. We could take A and make it the gold standard for the entire market. So you want to speak visionary. And yes, that may not be where you're at now, but you need to show them that you have your eye on a much higher prize, because investors are not in it to, fund a nice lifestyle business, which there's nothing wrong. I have a lifestyle business. Nobody's going to invest in me because it's just me. I can't scale myself.
Right.
Well, I mean, I am Donna GPT basically, but but there's one of me, whereas with OpenAI, it's everywhere.
So let me ask you this. This is interesting. I remember when my daughter was at the dentist one day, and she was probably 4 or 5, I think. And I was there in the waiting room with my wife, and the 3 of us were there, and she's getting kind of antsy. So I looked at her and I said, "Hey, Maya, once upon a time, And she stood up and she looked at me because she wanted to hear the story. And I noticed the 3 or 4 other kids in that waiting area stopped what they were doing. And they looked at me also because everybody wants to hear a story. It's just part of how we're wired. So I think this idea that you have of take a pitch deck and make it a story, I think that's brilliant. So let me ask.
Pay attention to what Scott just did. The minute he started talking about being with his daughter in a waiting room of a dentist office, my mind went to my kid's dentist office and the first time taking them there. So you used a story to tell about telling a story.
That's right. It's kind of like a coffee table book about coffee
about the coffee tables.
That actually becomes a coffee table with legs on it. So let me ask you this then. So Act 1, something happened. So let me make sure I understand this pitch deck. So are they talking anything about themselves at this point? Is there, we're publicly held?
The intro slide is something very brief. And so you're going to come back to your vision at the end. You can talk about your big vision at the beginning, just in a line. This is what we're setting out to do. Yeah. Now, I will give a caveat for talking about yourself. If you're talking to an investor and you have big sales, big engagement, big endorsements, big funding, that we call the brag slide. You do not want to wait for that. So I would, in the book, I show a few examples.
Oh, wow.
4 to 6 big numbers of growth, of ARR, of sales, of pipeline, of where you're going. Get them excited because investors love language is numbers. Right. So we do want to say that. And then whether we put the team or not depends on how much the team lends to your credibility. Are these people with multiple exits? Are these people from very prestigious companies or with significant industry experience? If so, definitely put them at the beginning. So we might spend 30 seconds to a minute on we've got the momentum and we've got the credibility. Yeah. Now let's talk about the story.
That's great. So then Act 1, something happened. One of our clients had a merger that didn't go well and they reached out to us and we...
No. It's not they reached out. We don't exist in Act 1.
Oh, okay.
There is no us. Good. There is no hero.
Got it.
This
so we're
is
talking
the moment of despair.
So we're talking about somebody like them. Somebody like them, right?
Yes. Okay. So our client was struggling because they were growing fast. They were hiring 100 people a month. What was happening was people were coming on, the company was setting goals and OKRs, and nobody was actually realizing that those goals pertain to them. So what was happening is tens of thousands of dollars were being wasted each month on cloud services. Nobody had any idea who ownership it was. Things were being miscommunicated. And there was this general feeling of disconnect, of misalignment. So that's talking about this client of ours.
Yep.
And then we move on to the macro. And this is something happening in kingdoms all around. Management, that people spend $50 billion annually on training managers for their skills, and still they lack the skills to be able to steer this ship in alignment because they're lacking data. So this specifically, I'm talking about the deck I built yesterday.
Right.
So the gap. What is the gap? There is no us. There is no our solution yet. We don't exist until Act 2.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, good.
So you want to push them to the edge, make them feel that pain, make them wince, and then bum, 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 here comes the hero. And then the hero emerges.
Let me ask you a question. So in my pitch deck or slide deck or sales deck, whatever I have, I'm assuming I'm not calling it Act 1. Is there any going to be, there's no such thing as a stupid question except for that.
No. I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that. No.
So,
and please don't call them that the villain and you the hero. That's an insider joke for us.
Okay, good.
So look, the first act, and you don't have to delineate it by act, but it's usually the problem, the need, the gap, or just give it an interesting title. One of your biggest stats can become the title. $50 billion wasted each year on inefficient meetings. Yeah, boom.
Good.
So you don't have to say the problem and then 50. You could just go right into it. Give them the problem.
Okay, great. And then
the hero is the solution, or us.
Okay, so let me ask you, Act 2, how do most of your clients introduce themselves into the story? What have you seen in that pitch deck?
How do they or how should they?
Let's just say, what are the best practices of introducing?
Yes, because usually the best practices don't happen before a session with me. I see they'll throw a slide there with all kinds of features and things. And I'm like, what is it that you do? What are you?
Yeah.
So Simon Sinek talks about the golden circles of messaging, the why, the what, and the how. The why is the big vision. We want them to understand how far we're going with this and start off with that. The what is it that you do? Then you can talk about how you do it. So the what, and I encourage people to create what I call a simple solution statement. It's simple, but it's not easy to write. We do X for Y by Z. Okay. We are a platform, technology, engine, chatbot, whatever it is. We gather data and present data-driven decision-making prompts at opportune times or whatever.
Question for you about this. I like this. We do X for Y by Z.
Yes. So Y is audience and Z is how we do it. You can flip the Y and the Z if you want.
Let me ask you this then. Would it be appropriate to have, let's say you call it your elevator statement or something like that? Like what I say I grow law firms and accelerate attorney careers by, something like that.
I would, then the buy where you started is I would encourage you to be a little bit more specific because you did 2 of them. Now the third, what is your secret sauce in there? Why are you different?
Like what's distinct?
Exactly.
What's okay, good. Yeah. Okay, good. And I don't want to make this a commercial about me.
No, please do. So what would you add on by?
I would say because of my lens is through the lens of rainmaking. And when a partner moves to another firm, there has to be a really good business case. So my distinct perspective as a high stakes headhunter adds value to the partner moving and to the firm because I understand the business case behind it.
That's your secret sauce. That's what makes it different. That's what sets you apart. And I believe that because it made me think of like this lens. Because I'm thinking of like looking through it so that you had a metaphor there that resonated.
Yeah, kinesthetic.
Like, you're right. You're thinking of it in terms of not just bringing anyone on. You're looking at it in terms of driving the business, driving the clout, driving the credibility.
Yeah, great. Wow. Okay, so I want to get to number 3. What's Act 3?
Okay, so Act 3 is the nitty gritty. Act 3 is the financials, the market, the trends, how you measure up to competition. This is the stuff that you need to back it up. Now, oftentimes people think they have to start with it. And yes, if you have interesting numbers, you can pepper them into the beginning to the problem. And not just your numbers, but like $50 billion wasted each year on ineffective maintenance. That's a great number to bring on. And that you'll probably have found doing your market analysis. But these are the numbers that are going to make them believers. So you've got them with the story. They get what you do. Now they want to know how you're going to make money.
Yeah. Right.
How are you different from others out there doing this? How can you scale? How are you going to go to market? What are your strategies? And just saying we're going to go viral or social or whatever is not enough of a strategy. You need to really show that you've given some thought to this.
Yeah, right. I mean, I would imagine, just the visual I have as you talk about this is you're on Shark Tank and you've got your pitch deck with you. And you've got those guys that, some of them you like, some of them you don't like and on Shark Tank. And they're looking through a calibrated lens of trying to pick it apart. Yeah. So you're kind of really.
But notice something about Shark Tank, and we watch it religiously. It's our Saturday morning tradition with our girls over breakfast. We're trying to create little entrepreneurs.
It's fun how kids like that show, isn't it? My daughter.
Whether they like it or not, in our house, my husband has a startup. I work with startups. Like, there's no way they're not going to be entrepreneurs. These two, their future is cast, but. They don't come on talking about their business model and their finance. They first tell a story.
Yeah, right.
So the first part of the pitch is like the problem they saw in their lives and then how they decided to solve it, the big reveal. So they spend about 2 minutes, even a minute, talking about the problem solution, the villain hero. And then they start asking them, so what are your sales like? Of course, in Act 3, your traction has to come in if you didn't have a brag slide. So how far have you gotten? What are your sales like? What are your numbers like? What are your margins like? Hey, I invested in this company. How's it different from that? So all of those things, they're basically asking, they're not standing there with a deck, but they're asking them those questions.
That's right,
which shows us the thought process of an investor. They were magically taken in by the story. Now they want to know brass tacks time.
Got it. So tell me about Act 4 then. Let's say we've gotten Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, the numbers, business model, competitive analysis. What do we do with Act 4? What have you seen that are the best practices?
So again, it's probably not what I've seen, but it's what we create.
That's right. Okay, good.
People don't always do this. And this is the big miss. This is your opportunity, like the Steve Jobs always had at the end, but one more thing, at the end of his launches. Or on Shark Tank, they'll be like something, but there's some more. And then they pull out this other product of like, we're working on the patent for this now. So this is the future. This is the vision. This is where we're heading. This is how big this can become. This is our moonshot. So you're kind of leading them on this path to this is even bigger. Here's our roadmap for the next 18, 24 months, however long your funds are going to last us. And this is what we need the funding for. We're going to be using it on product development, team expansion, IP, getting our patent in place. And by then we'll have 600K annual recurring revenue and 300 paying users and whatever the KPIs that you'll be able to achieve. They want to know how far their money's going to take you.
Yeah, right. That's great. And so do you think, I don't know if it would really relate to the pitch deck, but in those meetings, do you think it's important to really ask for commitment at that time? Yeah. Tell me about that.
Look, you're not going to say, pull out your checkbook and write me a check now, dudes. Yeah. But you're there to ask for money, or if you're selling, it's a different ask.
Yeah.
So if it's a sales deck, then you're going to lay out what the next few months would look like if they move forward with you, and then ask for the first step, which could be an RFP, or it can be let's set a second meeting with your tech team so we can discuss, or whatever it is, one tangible step that will lead them towards being a buyer. Yeah. Now, with investors, they're not going to invest on the spot. It's not Shark Tank,
Right.
And even those deals, honestly, I've heard that many deals don't end up closing because then they go into due diligence and then they check them out. Yep. A lot of them do. And then you hear the success stories, but some they find, they weren't being completely upfront with this. So, life is not Shark Tank. So if the next step is, I want to introduce you to the rest of our partners, or I want to set a meeting with our tech expert, or I want to do that, that's great, because that's a signal that they're moving forward.
That's right. So let me ask you this then. And if you had asked me prior to this conversation, what recommendations would I give to a pitch deck? I would not have come up with anything that you said. It's so good job. You've given some really innovative ideas.
You know what? And that's a great note, because investors say that if they learn one thing at a meeting from a founder about their market that they didn't know, for them, it's a success. Yeah, so you're not coming to be teachy preachy, but you are coming to show them aspects of your market they may not even know about.
Right. So let me ask you this then, Donna, as we kind of bring to a close here, if you wanted to summarize this in 3 action steps, if somebody is looking to improve their pitch deck or their sales deck, what would be the 3 steps to doing that? If you could kind of give us that.
1, buy my book. Oh, I'm kidding.
No, we'll put the link on the
show. It actually does lay it out. I mean, I've basically given away my trade secrets of everything of how to lay it out in a very user-friendly, accessible way.
And the book is stickingtomystory.com. Is that right? Or that's the website?
Mystory.com. You can order it through there or directly on Amazon.
Yep.
So the first thing you want to do is really, truly understand the pain of the other side that is not being met, even by other solutions. And then find a story that illustrates that. It can be your own origin story. It can be a user story of one of your clients in their lives before. Many different ways to go about that. Explain your solution in a very, very simple, easy to get way that nobody needs to have a degree in computer science or cryptography to understand. Things that our grandparents could understand, that an 8-year-old could understand. Simple, clear, crisp ideas, and showcase your product through your user's journey. Have the numbers to back it up. Don't argue. Yeah. If they try to ask challenging questions, don't get caught into the rat hole of trying to answer it. Sometimes they're just seeing how you respond. Be magnanimous. If you don't have all the data, say, I'd love to get back to you with the specific numbers. For now, I can say this. Don't lie about your numbers. They will find out. And make it visionary. Go for the big vision as well.
Well, Donna, I mean, you've kind of given us about 7 or 8 steps here, which is fantastic. So good for you. And so tell us then about your services. What do you want our listeners to know about what you do and what you can do for them?
So I mentioned GPT before. So I think everybody, unless they're living in a cave, if it has anything to do with technology, has been hearing about ChatGPT and all of these generative AI things where you kind of plug in your data and your questions, and then they spit out really clear, beautiful messages. That's what I do. I'm Donna Griffit. So for the past 20 years, I've been ingesting copious amounts of data, bits and bytes and boring stuff, and then transforming it into beautiful stories. So 2 hours, I create pitch decks that are completely fleshed out. I pull the thoughts out of the founder's head and weave them together in a way that they simply wouldn't be able to do. The reason I wrote the book is to give people the do-it-yourself version of it, which is fabulous.
Right.
If you can do it yourself, great. If not, come eat at the chef's restaurant.
That's great. Great. Well, Donna, thank you for being here. We're going to put all of your contact information on the show notes. I definitely want to have you back.
Any listeners mention that you heard me on Scott's podcast, you will get a special discount.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that, Donna. And we'll definitely have you back here on the show in a few months. I'd love to kind of get your perspective on some other things here. Thank you, Donna. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Rainmaking Podcast. For more information about our recruiting services for international law firms, visit our website at attorneysearchgroup.com. To inquire about having Scott speak at your next convention, conference, sales meeting, or executive retreat, visit therainmakingpodcast.com.